Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Victory Briefs interview with one of our VBI staff members, Devane Murphy. Thanks for agreeing to do this interview with us. For the listeners who don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Devane Murphy. I'm a former Rutgers Newark debater. I'm the coach of, or former coach of, the University High School in Newark, New Jersey. I'm a two-time national champion. I won the 2017 National Debate Tournament, the 2017 Cross-Examination Debate Association National Championship. I was also top speaker at the 2017 National Debate Tournament. I coached the semifinalists and top speaker of the 2018 Tournament of Champions, and a quarterfinalist at the 2017 Tournament of Champions. I've coached round robin winners from the city of Newark at the Scranton round robin, and participants at the Harrison round robin and the California round robin. And I've been doing debate for about 10 years. I graduated from Newark Science from Newark, New Jersey. I have a pretty vast background in almost all kind of debate activities, and that's basically it.
Okay, so clearly you're qualified to debate. How about some of your non-debate interests?
Non-debate interests. So I just graduated actually from Rutgers University, Newark, with my degree in public administration and nonprofit management. And my biggest passion outside of debate currently is to work with nonprofit foundations and to fund community works projects and to invest into our community to make it better in context of employment, education, etc. Outside of that, I'm really big on normal things, anime, Mario Academia, great. Got video games, the new God of War, and I really like books and stuff like that.
All
Basically.
right, so you really do it all. So you mentioned this earlier that you won both the NDT and Sita, and in 2017, and this was called Uniting the Crowns. Can you tell the listeners why that's such a historic achievement, and tell us a little bit about your experience getting that achievement?
Sure. Uniting the Crowns is unique in that it's only ever been done twice in history. 2013 with Emporia State SW, and 2017 with myself and my partner Rutgers MN for Nicole. Nicole, my partner, just a side note, was also the first Black woman to ever win the National Debate Tournament. Um, and she was the second Black woman in history to win top speaker at Sita. The experience was tremendous. It was amazing. It was really stressful. It was like 2 weeks of hardcore, intense debate. Some of the most academic and densely academic conversations we've ever had, that I've ever had in debate rounds. CETA is a little bit different than NDT. CETA is certainly more relaxed. It's more community oriented. It's much more of a vibe of, we are in this together, and, we're going to strive and learn together. The NDT is a little bit more hostile of a situation or community because there are a bunch of different styles, a bunch of different intersections of folks that, may not agree with one another. Certainly, our 2017 National Debate Tournament final round was contentious, to say the least, because the strategies that we employed were something that was meant to strike a conversation. It was meant to really stroke the conversation about uncomfortability and what it means to be comfortable in spaces and what it means to progress in that space. But yeah, I mean, the two tournaments were unique. The community atmosphere at both tournaments was lively, supportive, and honestly, it was probably the best experience of my life so far. Still pretty young, but definitely one of the most exhilarating experiences that I've ever had.
Alrighty. So obviously, incredibly successful debater, one of only two teams in history to unite the crowns, a feat that we can't underestimate. And you also mentioned earlier about some of your successes as a coach. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about some of your coaching success, and then maybe go on to explain a little bit why you think you were a successful coach?
Sure. So I coached three different speech events or debate events. I coached policy, public forum, and Lincoln Douglas. In policy, I coached two winners of the Scranton round robin that's held in Pennsylvania for University High School. And then in LD, and out in those years are 2013 and 2015. In LD in 2006, 17, 2017 Like I said, I coached collegiate school to the quarterfinals of the TOC, and then this past season, University High School, I coached Lincoln Douglas debater, who was the top speaker and made it to semifinals. And I guess the thing that I think that is probably one of my biggest things as a coach is to let the students work and let them do what they do. I really genuinely believe in a mantra that was kind of prevalent during our championship run, which is do what got you here. I'm not gonna impose how I feel about debate, how I feel about the world on anybody. Instead, I'm gonna let you kind of come to your own conclusions, and I'm gonna assist you in those conclusions. I think one thing that I tried to do in this past year, at least, is to kind of make sure that my students have access to all the kind of different debate styles. My student for university last year ran the UTIL framework. He ran a virtue ethics framework, which is the first time I've ever read about virtue ethics. Thought it was worthwhile. He also read critical race theory. So I'm really big on like a wide range of ideas and coming to an understanding based off of a wide cast net of things, and trying to not exploit but rather to expand on knowledge production that we already value or students already value, and going from there.
Awesome. So I guess let's talk a little bit about camp specifically, since this is a VBI interview. And you'll be leading at least one top lab at VBI this summer again, which we're super happy about. Can you share some of your thoughts about leading top lab, what it takes, how you approach it? So like, for instance, what do you think is like the most important thing a lab leader like yourself can do to help kids improve in top lab? And what do you think like the hallmarks of a good lab leader are?
Sure. I think honestly the toughest challenge about Top Lab is to reteach. I think a lot of times by the time someone's in Top Lab, they have a lot of ways about them. They already kind of solidify in their debate career and their style. And so it's a lot of kind of trying to break the programming that already exists before they come into our lab, and kind of, try to, incorporate some other ideas into said programming. One of the things that I think is good for Top Lab is to not just focus on, like, are we doing speaking drills, or can we are who's the best at cross X, even though I think that's a really important skill. I think one thing that's more beneficial is to develop skills that we find will be important during the season. So research skills, how to develop strategies. One thing that we did last summer in our Top Lab was we produced a brief system where when the topic came out for the September-October topic, we basically split up into groups, and each group was required to produce a certain part of argument. So my group was set up to write the counter plans and the disads that really fit well with the topic, and someone else was writing the Ks, writing the abs. Someone else wrote the frameworks and the topicality violations that really went well with the topic. And what this does is it forces the students to get in the habit of producing their own work and getting in the habit of doing the research as soon as the topic comes out, and being able to get ahead of the game, which I think is probably the most important thing about teaching Top Lab. Is you got to teach people how to get ahead of the game and how to be prepared for future instances whenever those things kind of come about.
Okay, cool. So it seems to me that a lot of top lab learning occurs at the margins, since most of them already have basic foundational skills, and like know what a counterplan is, know what a critique is, and stuff like that. How do you push debaters into those margins? How do you push them beyond what other people are doing? Make sure that those differences that they learn really translate into meaningful success.
So one thing is that well, at least last season, last summer, we try to take people out of their comfort zone. Because I think that once you're too comfortable with a position or too comfortable with a particular type of strategy, i.e., the K debater that only goes for the K, then you only go for the K. You're not really comfortable with the other parts of the margin. You're not really able to understand. Not only are you not comfortable, but you're not able to understand where those other people are coming from and how to maneuver those other kind of strategies. So what we did was, in one lab we had people wrote down their top two choices or top three choices for argument. So we had like the K group, we had the dissat counterplan or LARP, LD called
Yeah.
the LARP group, and then we had the framework T group. And then what we did was, if you really wanted to be in the framework group, or if you really focused on the K, we made you do framework. If you were a K debater, if you were a framework debater, we made you write dissats, and vice versa. Because I think that what that does is it at least forces you to flex a different part of the mind. It forces you to flex a different muscle that you really haven't had the chance to flex in your season or however long you've been debating. You have not used said skill, and not only does it make you sharp on that skill, but I genuinely believe learning the tactics of the people you will be debating will make it easier to beat them. Like 9 times out of 10, if you've never read a util affirmative or never read a util or disad position, you'll never know how to beat those positions because you're just not going to understand the maneuverability of said literature. And so, one thing that we really try to do is break you out of your comfort zone, make you try and learn something different. Because once you learn something different and learn the other way people are going about it, you're never going to lose to those arguments again.
That makes a lot of sense. We've already kind of briefly touched on this, but I think a lot of people wrongly have sort of typecast you as an exclusively K person because all they have are a few NDT and Sita rounds online to go by. And Sun Hee, VBI's other LD curriculum director, I think made the point pretty well earlier this year that you have experience in virtually every type of argument and debate, not just in coaching it, as you were just talking about, but also in running it. And I've also found you to be like one of those ideologically flexible people at camp. So I'm not even sure where this typecast came about. But I guess my question is, how do you approach coaching and mentoring individuals across different debate styles? Do you get into that literature yourself and help them explore it, or do you simply help them, or exactly how do you do it? Because I feel like it's difficult.
It's okay, super difficult, being completely honest, because I am one of the coaches that will read the literature with you. I think that if I'm coaching someone that is like, I really want to run politics this year, I think that the midterm scenario sounds good, I think that the Democrats might win, I think that it's going to look good, then I'm with you. Me and you are going to cut cards together, we're going to read the same literature. If you want to read about the Augustinian virtue ethics, I've never read that personally, but I delve into it because I feel like I need to be able to know so that I can effectively coach you on how to maneuver. Because I get the debate, right? Like like you said, like I've done virtually every type. Like I've read the disads, I read the frameworks, I read the Baudrillard kids, oh god, all those things. I've done all those things, and because I've done all those things, I at least have an understanding of what debate is, how to win the game, and how to play the game. In order to effectively coach, however, I absolutely delve into the literature, and I force myself to. Like this past year has actually been pretty big for me because even though my student that I coach read a lot of the same type literature that I read, he read some critical race theory, Afro-pessimist literature, etc. He read tons of new articles that I had never even thought about. And so what that required me to do was read a bunch of new articles that I never even thought about. Develop a new perspective predicated off of those other kind of readings, off of those new information that I'm looking for myself. And I feel like I have to match the energy that I want my students to put in. And if I want to be a successful coach and I want my students to be a successful debater, then I have to set a model for them on how exactly to get to that level of success. You can ask any student that I've coached in the past 2 years. Ryan Henderine from university is a really good example of this. I'm always big on reading. Like, you need to read. If you don't read, I can't coach you. Because in that way, like, you're not going to be able to meet me on the level of depth that I want to be at, and I need you to be at in order to be successful. And so, like, one thing, it is difficult. It is very difficult, but it's completely rewarding because it provides students with the skills that are absolutely necessary to be able to produce a point, to be able to produce a research strategy, or whatever the case is, in order to win debates and beyond debate. Because I think that, getting into an ethic of learning, reading, comprehending, writing notes, and then being able to process and then produce your own thoughts is something that goes far beyond debate. Much more than a trophy or TLC or whatever the case is. And honestly, that's what I'm interested in. Because as much as I'm interested in success, I'm much more interested in producing agents of change. And I think that, integral to my coaching style is that aspect.
I had a few questions, but I think you answered all of them. Like, I had questions like, how do you motivate your students so well? Because all of your students are so driven. And I was wondering if it was like driven students are drawn to you, or do you produce driven students? And it seems like the answer is both, but a lot of you driving students because you're doing the literature and forcing them to learn and forcing them to grow.
Yeah, I'm really hard on my students. I can admit that. I'm very, very hard on my students. My kids will be the first one to tell you that if you give a bad speech in front of Devane will tell you that you're trash. I'm the first to tell you you're garbage. You sound terrible. Like, you're terrible speech. And I'm hard on my students like that because I know for a fact if somebody was not hard on me, I would never got to the level of success and or the just the mindset that I have currently. And I think that is important to instill into our students. And as far as motivating factor, I think, like I just said, the most motivating thing is the student. Like I think like the amount of effort that the student puts in is super motivating for me, and that motivates me to want to work extra for you. And so I really believe in the coaching philosophy that feeds off of each other. Like I need you to bounce off of me. The energy that you bring in is going to bounce off of my energy, and I'm very, very high energy. I don't know if
Oh
you
yeah.
guys tell predicated off of this interview, but I'm super, super high energy, and I need you to match my energy. And because of that, I think that's probably where my motivation comes from.
All right, awesome. So I guess we're approaching the end of this interview here. So the last big question is, what are you most looking forward to at camp this year?
Most looking forward to? Okay, three things I'm looking forward to. Three things.
Okay.
The first thing is my repeat as the Omegathon champion. I won the Omegathon last summer. I won pub quiz. I would like to do that again. That's number one. Number two, I'm really excited to work with Top Lab again. I think that one of the best things is getting the kids that think that they are the best in the country and showing them that they're not that great, and then trying to make sure that they get better and understand why they're not that great to then become the greatest. I literally saw so much growth in so many amazing students this past year. Like, so many to name. It's too many to name in my labs that went from, being pretty good debaters to being TLC qualified excellent scholars. And that's something I'm very excited about. And the third thing that I'm excited about for camp, third Socrates hour. I think I like Socrates hour a lot more than most people do, which is weird because most people don't ask me questions. So if you come this summer, please ask me a bunch of questions.
Oh,
I hate
I'm always shocked that there's not a line up to you,
Yeah,
because I'm just like, what?
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I don't mind. It's a free period for me, but I really like interacting with students that I never met before, teaching them a bunch of things that they didn't think that I knew. I'm going from there, and I think that's the most important thing. And I think those are the main three things I'm looking forward to at camp this summer.
All right, awesome. So before we head off, are there any shout outs to people that you want to give, people that you think are important to learn about in debate, or just anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Cool, you put me on the spot, Lawrence. Shout out to Nicole Nave, because she's the executive director of the Women's Debate Institute, two-time national champion. You should, yeah. Shout out to my coaches, Mr. Willie Johnson, Mr. Ryan Wash, Mr. Carlos Estacio, who will also be on staff this summer. So come check us out. We're a championship winning team. You got to come to the camp. I want to shout out to University RH, Mr. Ryan Henderine, for an incredible season and hopefully translates to an incredible college career. If I have anything to say about it. And who else do I want to shout out? I want to shout out Elijah and the rest of the Greenhill staff for winning the TOC, and Brian Zhao for winning as a junior, and amazing accomplishment. Rex Evans for making it to semis as a sophomore. I want to shout out Aida Bathley from Success Academy for making it to quarterfinals. Even though it's crazy because in December she didn't even think she was going to be at the TOC, and then she's a quarterfinalist 5 months later. Tajay Robinson from Success Academy for making it to quarterfinals. Brianna Aaron from North Science for making it to octafinals of the TOC, and for getting accepted to Wake, and Aida as well getting accepted to Wake Forest, which is the top 30 university in the country. Are you serious? I'm honestly just naming off names now because you put me on the spot, Lawrence.
Sorry, not sorry.
Shoot, if I miss anybody, shout out to all the people that. Goodness gracious, I'm sorry if I miss you because this is on the spot, and I really blame Lawrence. I want to shout out to my Oklahoma family. That means you, Lawrence, George, Brittany, Natasha, Darius, Oklahoma family. I want to shout out to my Louisville family, my Towson family, my Florida family, my Emporia family, my Fullerton family, my family in the Bay, my family in LA. I'm sorry, I'm just spouting off names now, but I think that's it.
All right.
If I forgot you in the shout out, please DM me and tell me and chastise me for forgetting you. Oh, Usman, I'm sorry. Shout out to Usman for making it to the double octa finals. You the man, but you're not as good as you think you are. You need to come to camp and get in lab. Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. If I forgot you, I'm so sorry. Oh, shout out to all my babies in university. Mercy Y, Kennedy, Only, Rosendi, and Rosalie Rodriguez, James, all my little babies, all my babies at university, high school. Last shout out to Kyle Yuan from Collegiate. I wish you could have been to the TLC this year, kid, but I know you're going to be doing great things in the future at Cornell. And that's all I got.
That was a lot, but I kind of expected that. So
you put me on the spot, Lawrence. I'm sorry, man. I just had to make sure I didn't forget anybody.
Oh, I explicitly left that off the question list just to see what you would say. All right. Thanks so much for joining us on this interview. We'll hopefully catch you at camp.